let's call the meeting to order. Let's have roll call.
Agnes Barnarski,
Present.
Dana Syvertson,
Here.
Pete Hahn,
Here.
Seth Marcus. I
Here.
know he's there.
Here.
Thank you.
Yep.
John Comish.
Here.
I'm Jill Moscal. We're waiting for Ed Madden, but we have a quorum.
Okay, let's go.
Okay. All right, let's have approval of the minutes of board meeting March 11th.
I make the motion that we approve the minutes that were so beautifully crafted by Joe. And hey, no corrections this time.
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Aye.
Minutes
Bye.
Minutes approved. Okay. Next on old business is volunteer work days. So we've had some very productive work days with many people attending. We've had 25 and 28 the last 2 work days. And even on Easter Sunday work day, we had how many, like,
I
I haven't counted either, but
the numbers.
I think at least it was 12, I want to say. And we had a new family come out and some new volunteers, so that was very nice. We were at Heron Pond. Our next work day is April 18th, and we do expect a big turnout because of the high school students that are planning to come out, organized by Colin. And then just the fact that we've had so many people come out, I think we're going to have a large turnout. So I've arranged to split it up into 2 groups. One would head towards Isaac Walton and clear out that area where eventually, hopefully, there would be a boardwalk, and clear it from brush and have a bonfire there clearing. And then the other half would be transplanting. And I plan to have tables out, distanced all along the driveway, up and down, so that people can do, can be together, whatever their comfort level is. We'll be outdoors. Families want to be together, or friends, and masks if you're within a certain distance. But I think that a lot of people have been vaccinated by now too. So I think with appropriate social distancing, masks are not absolutely necessary when outdoors. So the other thing is on May 2nd would be our next work day, and Scott Britton from the Cook County Board of Commissioners, 14th District, would like to come out. He meant to come out last year, but then we had COVID, so he didn't. So him and a couple of his volunteers, his staff would come out on May 2nd. So that'll probably we'll probably need maybe a little walkthrough or something, a little bit more attention to our guest on that
What
day.
was Scott's last name, please?
Britton, Britton.
Thank you.
He is the Cook County Commissioner from District 14.
Okay.
That's all I have about volunteer work days. Any comments? Questions? Nope. Okay. Next, Prospect Heights Public Library Park District events.
Okay, we have Nature Speaks coming up as part of Earth Week, and that sort of rolls into the Earth Week topic, but we'll pick that up later. Dan Schilling is going to be giving his presentation about Aldo Leopold, listening to the Southwest. I've actually heard the presentation. It is absolutely incredible. The guy knows so much information. He has really terrific photos. This is one for no one to miss. And so he's, I think the 22nd is his talk. Hopefully everybody will get signed up for that. Following up with that, we have Stan Temple from University of Madison. He's also a fellow at the Leopold Institute, and he's going to be giving his talk on harmonizing with nature, and it's all bound up with environmental ethics as well. So he's an unbelievably good speaker as well. And then last night I booked a fall speaker. We're going back to Allison Sacerdote Villette, and she's going to she has a unbelievable presentation on buckthorn. And so the topic is just buckthorn. And she's going to go through the full gamut of how, why, what, when, and where. And she has lots of photos, and it's a really terrific presentation.
That was a presentation that was on Fermilab, right?
Yeah, she did it at Fermilab about 4 years ago. So she said she's got a lot of new material in there as well. So given all the questions people have been asking us about Buckthorn and how to get rid of it, and having us come look at it and trying to avoid becoming the Buckthorn police, I thought that was really appropriate. And so she is scheduled for September 23rd. So that brings us up through fall and the winter. So that's the next 3 speakers. That's about all I got for that.
We should really advertise that one, Dana, well in advance,
Yeah,
like
right.
starting after Labor Day.
Right. The Earth Week announcement just went out today, this morning. So that incorporate, of course, encompass all 4 of those events. And there'll be additional announcements going out for Dan's talk and for Mary Lou's bird talk as well. So.
And on a related note, I intend to get a press release out for the very next Nature Speaks this weekend. So that should be done by and in the editor's desk by Monday morning.
Okay. Do you need me to send you info?
Yeah, that's my follow-up. Yeah, please send me whatever you have.
Okay. Okay.
Let's move on to the Sleep Boardwalk project and funding. So the grant has been submitted, apparently, the grant proposal, and we should know by the end of June.
Mid-June, late June, 1st of July, somewhere around in there. We'll see.
So I guess that's it for that. Update spring prescribed burns. You want to talk about ComEd?
Yeah, this goes into my report on my site as well with the prairie. I met ComEd, there's Stantec out there at the site on the day they were going to burn. They had a north wind that they thought they could work with, but it was just a little bit too strong. They did one test burn right at the entrance there to the East Prairie, and it seemed to be okay. And then that was a very small patch. And then I was telling them that as you get further into the prairie, that the houses and the trees make more of a windbreak there. So there's a little bit different wind conditions further in. So they went in about 200 feet and tried another patch, and they did 3 strips where how the path runs through. They were burning to the north side of the path, so they put down fire right at the path with the wind blowing against it, so it's a backfire. And then they went 2 feet up and dropped fire in front, so now it becomes a head fire. And you could actually see the convection from that ring just go whoosh straight up. And I thought, oh, this is great, we're done. But the problem was that as it sort of lost that convection as the burn completed right there. The wind was strong enough that any sort of residual smoke that was left over started wafting over to the houses to the south. So they did 2 more test burns, and they did them in quicker succession to see if they could keep the convection going. And he wasn't happy with that. He was worried about smoking out the houses on the south side. So they packed up and left. We discussed about what happens next. He said they were going to be monitoring the weather. I think it's way too late now to burn. There's just too many things that have emerged already, insects, birds, anything and everything, plants. And so I think it would be counterproductive to actually burn it again, which really is a hard hard pill to swallow.
Yeah.
What he did have as an alternative, if that failed to burn, was they suggested that they would mow. I said at this point I can't speak to that. You know, whether we want you to do that or not, we have to discuss this as commissioners. So I guess that, you know, I was waiting for this conversation tonight before I get back to him. I think what's at issue is if their idea of mowing is what they did over at the remnant prairie, where they just basically lick the earth clean, I don't see how that really helps us at all. The other part is that because it has finally started raining, that
Soil
ground is soft,
disturbance.
so you're with soil disturbance. We've got all kinds of weeds coming in from that soil disturbance.
Right.
So the questions for them is, how late do they feel comfortable mowing? Secondly,
Do they pick
how
up the
high
thatch?
can they mow? How high can they mow? Because you wouldn't want to mow it right down to the ground and knock out the natives. You'd want to mow it 6 to 8 inches high.
And that does the mower
And
grind
what does
up
what does the mower do with
thatch,
the thatch?
or does it just cut it down, or do they take the thatch off site? Like, these are all questions.
Right. So if it just mows and they can't mow high enough to protect the natives, there's no point in mowing. If they're going to just mow, if they can do that, but they're going to leave the thatch, then you're suffocating everything that's trying to come up. So there's no point in doing that, really. And so we're back at where we were 3 years ago, trying to manage a prairie that we can't burn.
So I think the next step is to ask them, to go back to them and ask them about the mowing technique that they have in place for other seeds.
So I wanted to find out what you guys all thought before I go back to them.
Well, maybe we should try grazing.
Get some goats.
Rent some goats.
Rent a goat.
Rent a goat.
Okay, well, I'll reach out to them and find out more. Get back to you.
I mean, there's pros and cons, you know, so I think it can
Is
be a
it an
pro.
advantage? Is it an advantage to have them mow, or, you know,
Really
is
depends
that,
on how they mow it.
yeah, Okay.
The worst thing I'm concerned about is the soil disturbance, because soil disturbance with them, with the mower, the wheels, and the large truck will just cause just a flush of weeds, and
Mhm.
that's absolutely not what we need. If they can mow on a really dry day where the soil, they're not compacting the soil and then the vehicle is not too large, then maybe yes. But it also depends, because if they're just gonna flatten the material, what's the
Right.
point?
right.
Doesn't sound like we have many options here, except for waiting
No.
for next year, right?
Right,
Yeah,
Or fall.
yeah.
Can we do a fall burn?
Yeah.
fall is next year, so.
I mean, the next opportunity.
Next
is this
opportunity,
year,
but I mean, we typically, our burns are the permits are good for 1 year, and they start with fall and then go to spring. So they're pretty much doing the same sort of thing. So that's basically a year.
He did say that this prairie really needs to be burned, right? told
He
us
said
that.
it's in desperate need of being burned. He said a couple of things. One of the things that's really holding it back right now is the sheer volume of cold weather grasses. And he said the only way to get rid of those is to burn them. And the only way they're going to burn is if they have the humidity of 20 to 30%. Unfortunately, on that day, we had 20% humidity. And it burned where they burned the 3, patches in succession. It's just like, it's absolutely like St. Al's, just licked clean and black, and there's nothing else there. So it's really unfortunate, because it would have been the absolute best thing ever to happen to the prairie. But
They have to take into consideration the neighbors in the houses, and they're very careful about that. And
Mhm,
so we'll just have to wait,
mhm.
and we'll have to go and evaluate I think it would be really difficult to try to remove some of that thatch. We'll probably have to go in and do some brush control, the trees that are coming up.
Mhm.
We can do things on our own to try to help, but it's a lot of work. A lot more
Yeah, I
work
remember
now.
last year we were out there with with size. We were out there with brush cutters, grass string trimmers, and we cut a lot of stuff and raked it off to the margins. I really don't want to go through that again this year.
No, so let's hope that their mowing practice can do what we need it to do without negatively impacting the prairie. So I think the next step is for you to go back to him and find out.
Right. Okay.
And let's face it, we can only control what we can control, and the things that we can't, we just have to,
Right.
we just have to take it as it is. So, and I know, are you saying, Dana, we wouldn't be able to burn in the fall then? We have to wait a full year?
No. I'm just saying that the way the permits work, that the permits are good for a year, and it usually encompasses fall and spring. So that makes a year. You get 2 shots at it, done. So if you miss one, you got one more chance, and then you lost another year. So that was the point of that. That's all.
Okay, so plan is to go back and find out what, and then we'll reach out to everybody and let you know what they say. Let's see.
All right. Any other questions about that?
No.
Okay.
All right, District 214 micro internship. So the interns have started. This will be week 2. Allison and Lauren, and they're really great. We've had a lot of fun walking around. We've done Jill, you were with us that first day. We've had a nice walk around the slough. We've been at Marava. We've done just a lot of talking about watersheds and about diversity and plants and why they're important and all the things that we always talk about. We did some tree ID recently, and I'm looking forward to the following weeks.
Wonderful.
That's all I gotta say about that. Next is summer interns, 2021.
Summer interns are set. So we have Colin. We interviewed him. It was a very successful interview. He's a good kid. I think he's going to be a real asset working with Blair. Blair's excited to come back and get to work. So that's about it. They're starting when? Do we know yet?
No, not yet. I mean, we're waiting for funding first. Colin is available the last week of May, and I'm not sure about Blair's availability. I think it would be this time around probably wise to have him start around the same time.
And I just met Colin for the first time on our burn day, and I was awfully impressed. I mean, this kid, you can just tell his heart's. I think we have another winner there too.
Yeah, we've been very fortunate with this program. Very, very fortunate. So it's really nice to have the continuity of being able to take one from last year and make it the senior intern.
It's huge.
And it's huge. It takes such a load off of us.
We have someone that's a mentor and has already been through it and really can teach the younger intern. So I hope that goes on forever because it's really great to have that happen.
Mm-hmm. Okay, any questions about that? All right, moving on to new business Earth Day. You guys all saw that announcement went out this morning. 4 events. It's pretty self-explanatory. The workday, Mary Lou's talk on Monday, the Remnant Sedge Meadow tour on Wednesday, and Dan's talk on Thursday.
Dana, may I talk with you about advertising for the tour of Remnant Prairie? I had mentioned about putting up signs so people on the bike trail know what's coming on that evening.
Mm-hmm.
Can we get some signs made? You want me to spearhead that and see what I could do, or?
Well, one thing I know you were asking about that. personally, we can't put any more on our plate. We're maxed out with the start of the greenhouse program, interns, and everything else that's going on. There's no more we can do. One of the thoughts that I had was we could take some of the older signs that we have, the prairie signs, prairie restoration. We have a bunch of old ones that have the stands that go into the ground. If you wanted to take those and write on them on the backside, it'd be a one-directional sign, but I mean that's probably the easiest, quickest possibility.
Or have a piece of tape maybe with something. Or,
I could round up like 10 of those signs because I know you wanted to do
Like
places.
a permission.
Mhm. So if
Okay.
that helps you out,
All right, I'll be in touch with you on it.
okay.
And also, as long as I'm doing a press release for Nature Speaks, I might as well just do a comprehensive one for Earth Week.
Okay, I'll see.
Yeah, just send me everything that you think is valuable to include.
Okay.
then I just want to mention for that Sunday work day, there's a lot of setup probably. So if anybody's available a little bit earlier, like 8 or 8:30, that would be helpful too, just for setup.
Last we heard, there was possibly 20 to 30 high school kids coming.
Plus the regular volunteers.
Plus
I
a
mean,
regular volunteer
we
day.
might get 40. We might get
On the 18th?
on the
Pardon me?
18th, yes.
On the
On
18th.
the 18th, okay. I can be there early.
Yeah, I have like 10 tables that we could set up and just, and canopies, and we have tools and we have everything, but it's just a matter of getting it all out there and
Mhm.
setting it all up.
Sure, I'll be there early to help.
Thank you.
Okay.
And speaking of setup, the other thing that was supposed to have gone up on April 1st was the holding greenhouse. That's still sitting behind the garage in pieces. It needs to be assembled and put up. So probably this weekend. I mean, the clock's ticking as of April 1st. So if anybody's around, can help out with that, that's great. If not,
Either Sunday or Wednesday.
Yeah.
We'll definitely do it before the work day because that's where we're going to be putting the plants that people are transplanting.
mhm.
After
What day do you plan on putting it up? On Saturday or Sunday?
Sunday, it's going to rain on Saturday.
Saturday's supposed to rain all day,
Okay,
so it looks like it'll be Sunday.
Sunday or Wednesday, depending on.
Sunday afternoon maybe?
Yeah.
I'll text you and see where
Okay.
you're at.
We have it down to a science now, so it's pretty quick.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's just awkward. That's all.
The more people, the better. And, we have ladders and everything. So it's just a matter of folding things and tying the screws. It's should be okay. And then
Okay.
I can do the shelving on Wednesday. So,
I could be available Monday evening, but all the time in between now and then, I'm not available. I'd
Okay.
like to help you. I'd like to help you out with it though, but if you got to get it done, then you got to get it done.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see what goes, and then we'll let you
yeah,
know.
we'll see if you're available
Alright.
in the evening, even for an hour. That'd be great.
Okay.
Jill, do you have any update on the library event, the opening event?
no.
Okay.
Was I supposed to call?
No, I thought you were handling that, but
No, I mean, just a moment. I'll work it, but I'll find out.
well,
On
let
the
me.
opening.
I owe Terry an email right now, so I'll just throw that in there and ask her what's the latest with it.
Yeah, no, I'll work that day. I do want to work it,
Mhm.
whatever day it is.
Yeah, everybody gave their okay on it, so it is planned, but date wise and all that, nothing's been done.
Right.
All right.
Okay, so that path maintenance at the work sites. The paths are really well worn, I have to say that. Jill and I went to Morava last Wednesday and we did a lot of cleanup of the pokeweed. There were some branches down, a tree down, so we chainsawed and removed a lot of the debris that was down and around at Morava. But I have to say, even those paths look really nice and worn down, which is nice. Helps with path maintenance. For now, there's not much else to.
How's the doggy do situation at Morava?
It wasn't, I didn't see any. They must have cleaned it up. Or maybe it disintegrated.
Yeah. Jill wonderfully picked up like all the garbage, huge garbage bag of every single garbage that was there at Marama.
Does anyone know if they put in the dog signs
They did.
on the two ends?
They did.
Oh, okay. So Marama has those.
Maybe that helped.
Yeah.
No, they're in on the corner at Hillcrest Lake and in the corner of the slough.
Right.
So yeah, hopefully that'll help.
All right, cool.
Okay.
Greenhouse program.
Greenhouse program. The seeds are just taking off wonderfully. So the greenhouse is excellent. Everybody's alive. It's been really difficult because the warm temperature. So the greenhouse has gotten up to like 95. We had 4 fans going on, everything open, and it still got up to close to 100, despite anything that we could do on those really hot, sunny days. But everybody's fine. We just kept going in there, watering, just getting the fans on them, and everything's fine.
That's another test. We have to put up the shade screen over on the greenhouse this weekend. So it'll prevent that. It makes a 20-degree difference in temperature when the sun starts shining on it. So,
right.
Currently, we have the last count I took. There was 3,600 plants that were in individual cells at this point. That's basically us. And, I think you have help with that.
No, just us. Yeah.
But there's a heck of a lot more to go, but it's going great. So certainly this workday coming up will make a huge dent.
Huge.
So I'm a little confused when you're talking about a shade screen. Don't the greenhouses need sunlight?
Well, they do, but there's a special screen that we bought 3 years ago. That filters that light, so it cuts the intensity of that light down, but it doesn't hurt the greenhouse. So we've used it 2 years in a row now. It's life-saving because when it's 90 and you've got everything open and you got 4 fans going, it's not dropping. That'll cook those plants instantly.
There's no way you can take out 200 trays and then hours later put them back in.
Right.
It's back surgery.
What's the critical high temp that is?
Try to stay at 85.
Yeah, anything above 85 raises an alarm.
Yeah.
95, you get worried. If it's 100, then you've got to do something.
Agnes bought these thermometers that we have in there.
We have apps.
They're Bluetooth thermometers, so they constantly give us updates on the temperature. So she set a min-max range of 40 and 85. So like right now it's 56.7 with 89% humidity. So it's a real-time readout of what's going on in there.
Yeah, so
and when it goes too much to one side of those markers, it'll send me or her, sends both of us actually, an alarm and says, you're over the limit.
Yeah. So 90 is a little bit high for humidity, but we really can't help that right now because it's raining. We can't avoid 90% right now, but we've been keeping it steady. We'll wait around 50, way below 50% humidity too. So it's been, we have 4 heaters on in there, we have 3 fans, and then you just adjust. You turn one on, or turn the other one on. Sometimes we've needed 4 heaters. When it dropped down to 24 degrees overnight, we had 4 heaters on, but we never got to freezing. So that was nice.
Mm-hmm. So it's really easy to get in and just run out and adjust whatever's going on where it hits one of those alarms. So it's a nice app to have. Nice addition. Site reports. Oh, any questions about greenhouse?
No.
Okay. Site reports.
Okay, so the idea is that we send it before the meeting, so we don't have to take time to go through everything. So I sent it on the Remnant Sedge Meadow and Tully Park if anyone had any questions. Technically, things are just starting up, but, and then Pete
Here.
sent for Maraba, and Ed sent for St. Al's. Dana's already commented about ComEd, so we're just needing the Slough, Remnant Prairie, and Heron Pond.
Well, Heron Pond is, most of us have been there over the weekend, so I think we're all
Right.
clued in on what's going there. There's Hillcrest Lake also. When should we discuss the,
Mezzaldor, I knew.
okay. So there's a proposal to put some artwork, incorporate some artwork and signage into the pollinator park and prairie restoration and shoreline restoration project at Hillcrest Lake. Some beautiful artwork has been already produced, and the question is where and how and all that. Do we put it, and should we put it, and all that? So it's clear that this would need city approval and that, because of the whole artwork thing from last year. If we're going to incorporate it into the project, everybody has to be on the same page and on board. So, I mean, it's not for us really to decide if this is going to happen or not. The city's got to prove it, but we can certainly do the homework and all that prior to it. Part of the homework has been, I suggested running it by the residents up and down the street. And so I've done some of that. And there was an idea of putting this was that 10 by 3, Dana?
Yeah.
10 foot by 3 foot painted a goldfinch type of artwork on the north end of the Hillcrest Lake project. So there's basically like 4 houses which kind of have direct view to that. So I've talked to 3 out of 4 of them. The 4th was not available. And out of those 3, 2 out of 3 are for it, and then 1 is opposed to it. With the 2 that are for it, there have been some comments made about artwork in general out there and signage and all that. And I think there are good points to be made. And one is that, certainly any type of signage or artwork that goes out there needs to be maintained. So if they get weathered or they fall over, they start looking shabby, or something falls apart, or it just gets dirty, whatever, it needs to be maintained and still has to look good and presentable. A comment was made about some of the artwork that's still kind of sitting out there on some of the trees on the more west side of the street, and how it's kind of falling into a little bit of disarray, and it doesn't really look good anymore. And I would agree with that. And so for the artists who are involved, if this actually goes through, I think there has to be an agreement or something that these things have to be maintained and they have to look presentable and agreeable to the community. So that people are concerned about people parking in front of their houses and long lines of cars and all this other kind of stuff. It was nice last year. It was pretty much a walking and biking type of display that was going on. Will that change? Will it not? Will there be any kind of parking changes? Hopefully not. But I can pretty much tell you that the sentiment on most of the residents on the street really don't want a bunch of parking in front of their homes. So with that, we have to decide, is this appropriate to put this type of stuff up? And if there are people who don't want it, are there different ways we can work it where it's more acceptable, maybe different locations? And so basically the idea is to make everyone happy here and to put this pollinator park project together, make it beautiful, and I think importantly not to distract from what the goal of it is, and that's to put pollinator plants in there and enhance the bird and the insect community out there. So with that in mind, we'll keep the conversation going, and I guess at some point this will have to be presented to to the city council and see what their opinion on that is.
So John, the homeowner that objected, was it specifically for the parking and traffic concerns, or was it something additional?
It was for the piece of artwork. I mean, that particular thing would be pretty much directly in front of his house. And it would probably offer some kind of obstructed view. So, you know, there's different ways to maybe orient things, and we can discuss different ways to maybe work it so that it's not an obstructing thing. Maybe it needs to be smaller. Maybe it needs a different location. Maybe it needs a different angle. There's different ways to solve this, but it takes a little bit of discussion and some brainstorming, I think.
Mhm. One of the things that, and the reason that, you know, first of all, the protocol I was following was, number one, get the consensus from commissioners. Is this something we want to do? All right, so that's first part. Second part is run by the residents. Okay, get that approval. Then go to the city with a package that says, we've done this, we've done this, we've done this. Here's where it's going. Here's what it looks like. Here's how it mounts. Can we get approval to do this? And so that was what I was trying to work towards. So you were in the second phase of that, talking to the neighbors. I believe you told me that the one guy who did object was concerned about his view. When I talked to Kate about, I asked her, I said, in your wildest dreams, if you had carte blanche and could put your sign anywhere and you'd be totally happy with it, where would that be? And she took us exactly to where the proposed location is, which made a lot of sense. Number one, she was looking for some protection from the wind, and number two, the area that we had sort of agreed was going to be like a general picnic area and have less of the riparian buffer is the area where that was. So there was some sort of sensibility that made sense to have those two things together. The one thing that didn't get conveyed 100%, I did it in the information that I wrote to you, but in the actual illustration that I made in Photoshop, I had the sign being parallel to the lake. And we had talked about making it perpendicular to the lake. So that, because it's a two-sided sign, so if you're driving one way, you would see it, and if you're driving the other way, you would see it the other side. But if you were right in front of it, you would see only the edge. So I don't think that information got conveyed to this guy. Secondly,
it didn't get conveyed, and you know, that's a critical difference in the way that's presented. So
yeah,
we'll have to go back and redo that.
Okay, I'm glad to do that. The other part of the question, even if it was mounted parallel to the lake, the trees behind it are still taller than the sign. So if you take the sign away, he still doesn't have view through those two evergreens either way. So I don't know. It's a matter of talking through it with the guy and trying to come up with a better visual example, I think. So we'll do that.
Can you one more time say the size?
It's 10 foot by 3 foot.
That's what I thought you said. When you sent it, I had no idea it was that big. I thought it was much, much, much smaller.
No, it's 10 foot by 3 foot.
Wow, it's huge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I was going to say all the information was in the two emails that I sent about it. So.
Yeah, I missed it.
And to answer your question about, are the commissioners on board with it? I mean, I think it's a great idea. That was phenomenal last year. I do understand the concerns of homeowners where they may have a blocked view, and we can come up with a good solution. Certainly, it's like having company at your home. It's really nice, but only for so long. And so, it would be nice to just have some type of end date to it too, where maintenance would be.
You're muted, Ed.
I was done.
Oh. Well, this is supposed to be a permanent fixture out there, correct, Dana?
Well, that part hasn't really been thoroughly discussed. I mean, it's going to have some life. Ultimately, it's organic materials.
But it's not like for summer.
But I know that they were also going to great lengths to seal it, to make it as impervious to weather as possible.
Well, so that's another question is, what kind of paint is used for? Is it dirt? I mean, is it auto paint? Is it acrylic? What is it going to fall apart? You know?
Yeah, I'll go back and ask.
Yeah, I have to say, if I'm was remiss perhaps in not understanding fully two factors. One is the size, and the other is whether it's a permanent installation or a temporary installation. Permanent installations, I think, John made the point of, is there upkeep and is it maintained? Does it look nice, and et cetera? If it's a temporary installation, it's naturally gets taken away when it starts looking bad anyway, because its time is up. So you don't have to worry about that issue about upkeep. And then the other thing is, like I said, I missed how big it is. It kind of surprises me. I mean, I guess I pictured something different in my mind. To have something that big and permanent, I would have to perhaps rethink my position. I think small and temporary is a no-brainer. Big and permanent is a very different issue.
All right, well, let's get some answers, and I'll put it in an email and send it out to everybody, and we can reconvene.
All right, we can also meet at the site, maybe with the sign, and see, there's a lot of things that we can do.
I've scoped out some alternative sites, if that's a thing, where it's not in front of anybody's house, where it's between houses or next to a street, something like that. So there's alternative positions where this could go as well.
And if I'm understanding correctly, and again, just to make sure we're on the same page, the artist also, in the past, that the past installation, the art stimulated more artists, so there was a lot of art presented. Are we talking about one piece? My understanding is the artist is talking about, once again, encouraging other artists, and so we're talking about potentially a bunch of pieces.
Well, yeah, she talked about that, and I said, look, whatever your thinking is, it has to be proposed, and don't do anything until there's a clear proposal that's been talked about and approved. So
Right.
that what she was thinking there was, she was thinking of real estate signs, getting old ones and reappropriating those as art boards and having various artists work on those. So whether, again, is that a temporal project? Is it a permanent project? I don't know. So there hasn't been enough conversation about it at this point.
Well, I think with all this, though, we have to keep in mind that the main goal of the project here is the pollinator park. So let's not lose sight of that. I think everything, it meshed really well last year, and it was a very symbiotic relationship between the artwork and the restoration work that was going on. It was great. As we move forward, though, we gotta make sure that the attention is really to the pollinator park, and then, can we enhance it with some other stuff? Yeah, maybe. But that's got to be the main focus, I think.
Well, I just had a thought of it.
Well, just part of it is that we're supposed to have interpretive signage, and I'm not saying in that form, but we still have to do the interpretive signage.
Yeah, and I've explained that to the residents too. Part of the grant, and all that, is we need informational signage out there. Does it come in the form of a 10-foot by 3-foot piece of artwork, or does it come in a plaque? I don't know. I don't know what's best and what's more palatable for everybody, but at least the discussion's open now, and I will informally, sample the opinions from the residents around and see what everybody's thinking.
So Dana, I understood you to say that, obviously this has to go before the city council, but is there some point where we want to voice an opinion of the commission?
I'm not sure I understand the question. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't, I mean, if we don't have consensus here in the commission, we don't have a majority of everybody saying, yes, let's do this, then it wouldn't go any further than this, right? And then the next step is getting the approval of the residents. If the residents are all, I mean, we say, yeah, let's do this, and the residents come out and say, no, that's a different issue than informational signage, and we really don't want that, then where do you go with that? I mean, you gotta stop. So until it clears all these hurdles, there's really nothing to present to the city. And if it was on the Park District part, you'd be making that proposal to the Park District instead of the city. So until our ducks are in a row and we've approved everything, there's really nothing to pass on to any of those guys. So
We could give them information about what's going on, that we're having a discussion about it.
you could, if you really want to. They're all busy. I don't know why you give them anything else that may or may not happen. I mean, it just doesn't make sense.
Well, I think if it moves forward more organically rather than forced at this point, I don't know if the artists want to do another temporary installation for the summer or not. That was certainly well received by most people.
Mhm.
We could start again with that, and then this is a multi-year project. Things don't have to go in the ground tomorrow. It can come about, and it can perhaps over time be accepted, or or just more unfold without pressure on us, more or less, and let's see how it's accepted, in a temporary form at least, by the residents, and then go from there.
I don't know if I would like to just even just visually see what that would look like in the space too, because just even my thinking of having it perpendicular was so different than having it parallel.
Yeah.
Creating like a space, like almost like an outdoor room. We have all these trees and shrubs that we can plant, and to have that sort of, it's almost like
I like that idea. And maybe that's, maybe everybody else would like that idea too. It's a lot of ways to skin this cat.
little landscape design incorporated with the art.
Okay, I'll go back to the drawing board and to the artist and send you all new information. We'll
Thanks, Dana.
take the next step.
Thanks, John. You're doing that too.
All right, so John, the treasurer's report.
Well, hopefully next month we'll have some money in the kitty, and then I'll have something to report for you. But right now, everything is status quo. The budget comes in on May 1st. Is that correct?
The first reading of the city's proposed budget is this Monday evening, the 12th, and on the 26th, it's the final approval of the budget. But the budget for the new year begins May 1st.
May 1st, yeah.
So what should be in that?
I do want to take the opportunity to say that one of our volunteers, Linda Wasey, donated $200 to the commission.
Oh, nice.
She watched a bunch of programs and started thinking about the work that we do, and she just felt that she can do more, and so she took a donation over to the city, and it was earmarked for us. So if you see Linda, tell her thanks.
Well, I guess we have $200 in the kitty now then.
Yeah. And we should attend the meeting of the 12th.
Yes.
Yes, we need to be there, so.
Yeah. All right. So we just talked about that then, right? The budget and city council meeting.
Mhm. So Jill,
City civic meetings and representation. Jill, any updates on the
Meetings.
Well, I sent you my notes from the two March city council meetings, mostly about budget and funding, et cetera. But the important dates are April 12th and April 26th. I intend to attend both of those city council meetings. And you did see the Park District had canceled their March 23rd meeting. I didn't know that they had one on the 30th. So Dana and Agnes received a call that the boardwalk project was approved by the Park District.
Right. Officially approved, yeah. Okay,
Okay, announcements to public? Anybody?
no. Visitors coming? No visitors.
We have one visitor. I don't know the name though.
Visitor
Unless
like
they
that?
left. Unless they left, but there was a visitor.
Oh,
Okay, and then I make the motion, we adjourn.
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.